Yesterday we finally got a proper look at 007 First Light with over 30 minutes of gameplay and even a confirmed release date. And honestly, it's shaping up to be something special. You can clearly see IO Interactive taking the lessons from their previous work and blending them with smart inspirations from other games, all while keeping that distinct Bond identity intact. From what we've seen so far, it feels like they've nailed the tone, and it looks like they're on track to deliver a definitive James Bond experience. The kind of game we've never really had before on this scale, and I came away genuinely impressed. But before we dive into the video, stick around if you want more gaming thoughts, reviews, and gameplay. I'll be sharing my experiences with the games I'm playing now, and the ones I'm excited for in the future. So why not subscribe? Let's start with the obvious. This game screams Hitman with a Bond skin. And honestly, that's not a bad thing. IO Interactive knows stealth inside and out. We're talking sneaking through enemy compounds, blending in with the environment, distracting guards, and silently taking people down. It's all here. Instead of strangling someone with piano wire, you're using gadgets, like the laser watch, and it just feels very 007. Visually, the game carries over the familiar style of IO's Glacier engine, but it looks better than ever. There's more detail, more reactive physics, sharper cinematography, and some of the best facial animation I've seen from them in cutscenes. On top of that, they've introduced full-on driving sequences, which is a huge addition. The gameplay demo kicks off with a calm drive toward the target's location, but things quickly escalate into a heart-pounding chase, complete with jumps, off-road detours, and high-speed pursuit. It's a sharp shift in pace that instantly grabs your attention and sets the tone for the action to come. It feels like a real step forward for the studio, building on what they already do well, but expanding it in all the right ways. Everything about it screams that they're going all out to deliver an authentic James Bond experience, and it doesn't feel like they're cutting any corners in doing so. Another big talking point for me is the story direction. They're going with a younger Bond, who's early on in his MI6 career. And on paper, I get why. It's a chance to see him evolve, to make mistakes, and to become the agent we all know. This is an angle the law hasn't really explored in the films, and it opens the door for some intriguing character development. We all know who Bond is, but we don't really know how he became the infamous secret agent. I do like this approach though, because it could lead to some exciting twists in the story, while giving us a deeper, more intimate look at the character we thought we already knew. We get a real sense of this in the gameplay demo. Bond starts off as a chauffeur, driving to the location, far from the seasoned agent we know from the films. Along the way, he notices something a little suspicious, which leads into the first on-foot sequence. Here, he attempts to infiltrate a building, but is stopped by guards at the entrance. This is where the Hitman DNA really shows. We get conversational options, which is a sign of letting us fulfill our goal in different ways. The more you explore the sandbox and roleplay as an agent gathering intel, the more it opens up. There's new dialogue choices, alternative pathways, and different ways to complete the objective. It feels like a very organic, player-driven approach to being Bond, while still having that IO Interactive DNA. They've also taken huge inspiration from other successful games, and I'd argue the biggest influence comes from Uncharted. For example, once Bond distracts the AI, he climbs through an open window to gain access, and the platforming here feels very much like Uncharted. Even the cover system and kill animations are reminiscent of Uncharted 4. Then there's the end of the gameplay demo, which takes place on a plane, and again, very similar to sequences in Uncharted 3. The lead-up involves firefights on an airfield, boarding a taxiing plane, shooting as debris flies all around you, and ultimately falling out the plane. It all evokes strong Uncharted vibes. There's even similarities to Arkham Knight. Bond hacks into the aircraft and can manipulate its orientation, affecting the environment, a mechanic that mirrors the airship sequence in Arkham Knight. The difference here is that while Arkham Knight used it more as a puzzle, First Light applies it in a combat-focused way, which makes it feel fresh while still familiar. There's also several moments where the environment plays a big role. During combat, you can grapple and throw enemies into hazards nearby, a mechanic reminiscent of Sleeping Dogs. And even outside combat, you can remotely trigger explosions, which feels very much like Watch Dogs. The game clearly emphasizes environmental destruction, and it looks impressive. Fire, debris, and realistic physics all over the place. During the major firefight towards the end of the demo, being spotted by enemies triggers a license to kill notification, which is a really cool touch and a brilliant nod to the films. That said, some issues stood out. There seemed to be heavy reliance on big red explosive tanks and barrels, and the gunplay itself felt a little lackluster at times, with AI enemies sometimes standing in the open without shooting. I'm hoping that Bond's gadgets aren't limited to stealth sections, because if they're not integrated into the gunfights, I can see these shooting sequences getting repetitive pretty quickly. Then there's the performance issues, which I can't ignore. Watching the reveal, I noticed frame drops, stuttering, and some rough looking animations. Not exactly the impression you want to make in a first showcase. The game is still months away, so there's definitely time for polish, but seeing choppy gameplay does plant a seed of doubt. I'd also be surprised if they hit a consistent 60 FPS on consoles, given the level of detail, AI systems, and dense NPC crowds. The footage we saw was running on a base PS5, and I'd argue it was hovering around 20 FPS at most of the time. That's a topic for another deep dive though, but what's clear is there's still a lot of optimization work to do before the March release next year. The potential is massive. If IO pulls this off, we're looking at the closest thing to living out the Bond fantasy we've ever had in a video game. A proper spy thriller, complete with gadgets, stealth, disguises, and those over-the-top action beats. If they can smooth out the performance and really lean into what makes Bond unique, then this could be a very special game. But right now, I'm cautiously optimistic. The foundation looks solid, but it's undercooked. This reveal showed me the bones of a good game, but not the polish I need to be fully convinced yet. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Excited, but not completely sold. I really hope IO nails it, because an iconic character like James Bond deserves nothing less than the best. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and drop your thoughts on the gameplay demo in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.